Hi, my name's Bernadette. I'm the writer, one of the producers, and sometimes performer and puppet maker and costume maker for Phantasmagoria, which will be on sometime in the future in TheatreWorks. I've worked in theatre for about 15 years. I love theatre for the reason that it is a multi-sensory medium. It can engage with all of the senses, and for that reason it's much more accessible to people with different sensory needs and diverse abilities. So I feel that it has a lot more opportunity than screen-based media, for instance, which we're currently having a lot of experience with. And I work with puppetry and animation and painting and other mediums, and I sometimes like to employ these as other languages within the theatre space. Yeah, it's a really exciting space to work in. So I was inspired to create Phantasmagoria many years ago, actually, when I was unearthing some stories about my father, who passed away when I was a child. And the deeper I dug, the stranger and more complex it became. All of these different stories and perspectives from other people that knew him. And I was really interested in how we understand somebody after they've passed away through other people's eyes. I was also interested in how we invent stories to fill gaps in our understanding, and often our memories are partly fictional anyway, and so the idea of this one true reality is an illusion in itself. And I was also interested in exploding that idea of the monster, of the complexities of a character who has done terrible things but has also done great things too. And I was interested in how we come to terms with this complexity in others but also in ourselves, and this is a thing that I grapple with in my writing for this piece. So I chose to use magic realism as a lens for this work for a number of reasons. Magic realism has the ability to bring us closer to reality, I feel, and to uncover hidden worlds in amongst the everyday, or what we consider to be everyday or normal. And this is a really strong interest for me in the creation of this work, which began as a series of illustrations with text in the form of a graphic novel, which is still is in production. But yeah, I've been influenced by a lot of books and films in the magic realism genre, as well as horror and fantasy. So Babadook, Pan's Labyrinth, Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things, Michael Ondaatje's Running in the Family, which recounts stories from his Sri Lankan burger family, which is who's related to my family. Isabel Allende's House of Spirits, Sean Tan's The Arrival, amazing wordless, textless, illustrated book, or a graphic novel, I guess some people would call it, which is about migration, which is also one of the themes in the show. And also Ben Okri's The Famished Road, which is explores all these spirit worlds. There's also a very important theme in this work, which is that idea of spirits and whether you believe in them or how you believe in them and what they mean to you. So yeah, that's one of the big reasons why magic realism came in as an idea. And we're experimenting with a lot of different forms in this show, so costume and shadow puppetry, projected paintings and physical performance, and trying to create this strange magical world of ghosts and fantastical creatures. Yeah, and there are these parallel worlds of fantasy and reality that bleed into each other, which I feel is actually closer to what humans actually experience in the world. We're all emotional and deeply imaginative creatures with these like rich hidden fantasy worlds that have just such a powerful influence on our everyday lives. And also on how we interact with each other, for better or for worse. And I believe in harnessing the power of these imaginings and consciously acknowledging their importance and agency in our lives, rather than pretending they don't exist. So to talk a little bit more about the animation and puppetry in Phantasmagoria, I've been using animation and puppetry, who are close cousins actually, for a long time, and I like to employ them in as languages in theatre together often, and sort of playing with the slippages between projected image and physical form. And both of these forms have the ability to make the invisible physical and real in some way, and they also lend themselves well to magic realism, where the everyday is subverted or challenged, or but the use of stage magic, projection and analog visual sort of artistry, puppetry and lighting, they allow us to create these illusions and otherworldly atmospheres where anything is possible. And the shadow puppetry and projection in particular allows us to play with scale and distance and to evoke these different worlds. The costume puppetry, which we're using, which there's all these different strange characters, that costume puppetry allows us to transform our bodies and to physicalize these imaginary creatures, and that physicality has been really exciting to explore, as well as to design and make. They're quite sort of intricate costumes with fabric and lots of different materials, lots of found materials actually. Most of the materials we're using are found objects, recycled, upcycled materials. We're trying not to buy new things as much as possible, which is also helpful in the theatre context where there's not thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to spend, unfortunately. The highlight of developing this work, there's quite a few. We had to stop sort of at the beginning of rehearsals, but we'd been through some development before that, and the work has been in development for actually a number of years. But yeah, definitely one of the highlights for me has been the team. We've had an incredible team, a multidisciplinary team, and very diverse team as well, with very diverse experiences. So it's been quite delightful to work with all of our wonderful people on board. Just the energy they bring, and seeing the images and text materialize, and the sounds, and feeling the energy of the work have its own agency within all of the team's engagement has been really incredible, because that sort of changes it again. It's like the next iteration. And there's things that happen that you just wouldn't have expected, I guess. This has been really exciting. I think we've all been quite excited by it and constantly surprised about what bubbles up from within everybody. And another highlight has been sort of exploring the multiplicity of, or the complexity of identity, through having multiple actors sharing the same role. And that's just brought this whole other dimension to the work that I've really enjoyed seeing come alive. And we've had to delve into some quite emotionally heavy and sort of dark material. But because of the performers' comedy and clowning experiences, as well as the costume puppetry, we've been able to kind of contrast this with very different emotional tonality. So it's been interesting seeing that shift and change as the process continues, and how it will continue into the future as well. But yeah. What do I hope audiences take away from Phantasmagoria? I hope the work speaks to people who have lost someone, close family members or friends, and people who have been affected by wartime experiences, or know someone who has, and also give people another perspective on family violence and an insight into the complexity of experiences that exist around these situations. The work twists and turns quite rapidly. It moves back and forth in time and place, and we're creating this sort of magical world for people to journey into, and I hope it stimulates a kind of intrigue and wonder with sort of the seemingly normal and everyday experiences that we all have outside of the theatre space and inside of ourselves. I also hope people laugh